Bienvenidos a este nuevo vídeo de Devir TV. Estamos en el stand de White Wizard en el Hall 1 de la Feria de Essen y tengo a mi lado a Rob Dougherty. Robert Dougherty, the author of many of White Wizard games and also this company is from yours, I think.
Yes. I'm a founder, CEO, and designer of many of the products, and developer. I'm either a game designer or a game developer on everything we make. Okay. So yeah,
you change your hats.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Well, we have released in Spain Epic with Devir, also Hero Realms and Star Realms. People is freaking out. Some expansions, but if you can tell me a bit. How started everything, because this was kind of madness when it was released. Those deck buildings, Star Realms, was a revolution.
Yeah, so I've been working in making games for a long time. Before this, I worked on the Ascension deck building game with my friend Justin Gary, and then my friend Darwin Castle had an idea for a space combat deck building game, and he showed me an early prototype of it, and it was pretty fun, and I wanted to help him work on it to make it better, so maybe he could sell it to a company to get it out there. So I started testing it with him, and had a bunch of changes I suggested, and we tried those out, and we liked them, and then he had some ideas, and I had some more ideas, and we made it better and better and better. And then at some point I was like, this is really good, we should just make this ourselves. And then we got the Kickstarter together, we got a bunch of backers, we raised $55,000 on the initial Kickstarter, and we were off and running, made the game, and had a really big first print run, and that sold out, and then a bigger second print run, and that sold out, and a bigger third print run, and that sold out, and fourth print run, and that sold out, and it just took off. So that was really exciting.
Wow, then that was the beginning, and then you decided to found your own company.
Yeah, so we formed a company right when we got the game to the point where we thought, wow, this is really, really good. We should make this ourselves. We formed a new company to make it, White Wizard Games. So that was the origins of White Wizard Games. Two friends designing a game together, and getting to the point where we're like, we can just make this ourselves.
Okay, that was with the Star Realms.
That was Star Realms, yeah.
Then you were working on Ascension before.
Yes. So,
I think that you really like deck buildings.
So I'm a Hall of Fame Magic player, and I had a team of. I used to own a game store, and I had a team of Magic players who played with me, and a lot of really great players from the early days: Darwin Castle, Dave Humphreys, Justin Gary, Zvi Moshwitz. A lot of really great players of the game, and many of my friends stayed in the game space and ended up working on games, designing games, and I've made a bunch of different games over time. Made a game called Battleground Fantasy Warfare, tabletop war game. I made a trading card game called Epic Trading Card Game, which was a previous version of the Epic. I made Ascension with Justin Gary, and then Star Realms with Darwin Castle, and sort of learning the process of making games and making them better and making them visually more appealing, and as well as having good play. I've been making games for a long time. Really love card games. There's so much you can do with the card components. You can add so much gameplay, and you can add a ton of gameplay in a really small space. Like Star Realms, people will play that game hundreds, thousands of times, and we can give it to them in a nice compact box, and they can carry it around with them, and they don't have to spend a huge amount of money to get it. So I love how much gameplay you can put in a small space with cards. So I've designed and worked on regular board games as well, but I do love the card games.
So one of the goals of your creation of Star Realms maybe was to go to the more straightforward way to create a deck building.
So yeah, well, one of the great things about Star Realms is it's kind of like got the core essence of deck building. The game is very easy to learn because there's not a lot of additional rules. There's no like limits on the types of cards you can play. There's no limits on the things that you can do in the game. There's no like point adding up score at the end. You have money and you the trade, and you have combat. So you got trade and combat. Trade, you buy new stuff. Combat, you attack your opponent. You can play as many cards as you have. You can buy as much stuff as you have money. You can attack as many times as you want. You spend in your combat. You can play your turn in any order that you want. There's you can buy some. You can play a card from your hand, then buy something, then attack, and then play more things, or play everything from your hand. Any order you want to do things. So the basic rules are very simple. The complexity comes in with the cards, and there's so many possibilities with what you want to buy, what kind of deck you want to build, when do you want to concentrate more on buying things, when do you want to concentrate more on being aggressive. You can be switching from, I think I want to switch to being more aggressive now and start going after combat, and then maybe some amazing expensive card comes up on the table and you want to switch back. There's so much going on in the game. There's lots of room to get better at the game, but you can still have a fun game even if you're playing an expert versus a casual player. You can still have a fun game of Star Realms. So a lot of times we simplified. We had in the initial versions of the game, we had some rules that were very complicated, like how bases work. Like they had energy shields, which reduced damage, and they had a certain amount of defense value, and some very complicated rules. And we simplified the rules of how the cards worked, to the point where it was very easy to learn, and the complexity came in the card interactions and the choices you made in the game. And I think that's one of the reasons why the game was so successful, because it's easy to learn, easy to play, intuitive, but there's a lot of room for having cool ideas and strategies that you can try out in the game.
Well, a lot of things in a really tiny and cheap box.
Yes, exactly. A lot of game in that little box.
Well,
yeah.
I think you spent a lot of money playing Magic, and then you wanted cheap products.
Yeah. With Epic Card Game, we obviously love strategy card games. We love trading card games. Something I've never loved about trading card games is how expensive they are to play. To keep up with a trading card game, you have to be buying cards constantly. You have to chase after cards, like, oh, I need 4 of this super rare card in my deck. How am I going to find them? I got a tournament next week. And then even if you can find them, they can be very, very expensive. And if you want to do a draft, you have to buy packs and then draft, and then, okay, now I want to draft again, I've got to buy packs again. So it's just a very, very expensive hobby, but the core concepts and the core gameplay is awesome, super fun. But there's this barrier of the cost of the cards. There's also most trading card games have a resource ramp system where you start with very little energy and you gain energy over time. It might be in the form of playing cards on the table like Magic's Land, or maybe just automatic building of energy like in a game like Hearthstone or something, but basically they have what you call like a ramp or a mana curve, and that inherently means that some of your cards are good late and some of your cards are good early. And if you have cards that provide those resources, sometimes you'll draw all resources, sometimes you'll draw no resources. Even if you don't have cards that provide those resources, the resources come automatically. You have cards that you can't play till later in the game, can't play till earlier in the game. So sometimes when you're playing, you'll have non-games. Like you're playing against somebody, they get their cards in the right order, they're able to play out all their stuff, and you're looking at your hand and you literally can't do anything. And you just have to sit there and get beat on while you're trying to draw the combination of cards that actually lets you make any kind of gameplay or game decision. But sometimes in those games, you get your cards in the right order, and you get your resources, and you get to play your stuff, and they get their resources, and they get you to play their stuff, and you have an amazing game. And those are the awesome play experiences which make me really love that kind of game. So with Epic, I wanted to solve both those problems. So Epic, like Star Realms, you buy a single box, you have everything you need to play. If you want a constructed collection, you just buy 3 copies, and you can build any deck in the game. So you can very affordably either play limited with a single copy, or have a complete constructed collection and be able to build any deck you want. So that solved the problem of card access. With the problem of the play, with Epic, we approach it in an interesting way. We basically said, all right, every single card in this game is going to cost either 1 gold or it's going to be free. Every single turn of the game, each player has a gold. So you can always play every single card in your hand. If a card costs a gold, it's going to have an incredibly powerful effect on the game. If a card's free, it's still significant, but it's much less powerful than the cards that cost gold. So when you're playing a game of Epic, automatically you have the resources you need to play your cards. So instead of waiting to be able to play cards, or maybe not being able to play cards at all, every turn you can play any card in your hand. And they can also play any card in the hand. So those great games in the trading card games where you got your resources and your cards together in the right order, and so did they, and the game was about what decisions you made, what decisions they made, the stuff you played, you both got to play your game, and the best player got to win. In Epic, it's like that every single time. You can always play your cards. You're always making strategic decisions. There's huge events happening all the time throughout the game. So you get that awesome play experience every single time, and you get it in a little box that you can carry around in your pocket for a very affordable price. So we're really excited about the Epic game, and it's super fun for people who like those kinds of strategy card games. It's a great experience.
But also there's another characteristic on Epic that's very fun. All cards are
yes. Every card in the game is Epic. So as I said, when a card costs gold, it's going to have a major impact on the game. So for example, you start with a score of 30 health in Epic. On the very first turn of the game, your opponent might play a 14-14 monster and attack you with it on the first turn, and so suddenly there's this giant attacks happening. But you've got game 2. You've got a fistful of awesome options. So there's no boring, small, minor plays in Epic. When you're playing Epic, you're swinging with haymakers, and so is your opponent. Like, really powerful things are happening throughout the entire course of the game, and that makes that's one of the things that makes Epic so fun.
Every 2 minutes, there's a different game.
Yes.
What happens everything changes. That's really fun. I have tons of fun with Epic. And also you have now like the crossover between Hero Realms and Epic. They had a little son called Hero Realms. Yeah, so
Star Realms was our science fiction deck builder. Epic was our fantasy strategy card game. And we have a lot of Star Realms fans who really wanted to see us make a deck builder in a fantasy world. So Hero Realms came from that demand from our fans of, we'd really like to see a fantasy deck builder. And so we thought about fantasy deck building, we love the Star Realms base game engine, and so we knew we wanted to start from that point. but wanted to think about the things we wanted to do with fantasy. What would it mean to be in a fantasy world in this sense? And when we think of fantasy worlds, we think of heroes, we think of adventuring, we think of sort of larger than life characters who are battling the forces of evil, and sort of like the characters from Lord of the Rings or whatnot. So we wanted to have specific characters that you could be. We wanted to have rangers and wizards and clerics and thieves and fighters. We wanted to have the ability to go on adventures together. We wanted to have giant monsters you could fight against, and we wanted to have the ability for people to sort of improve their character, find treasures, go on adventures, gain experience, improve their skills. So there's all this stuff that we wanted to do, and so my vision for Hero Realms is a little overwhelming. There's a lot that we want to do. So what we decided to do was to break that into pieces that the players could get separately and enjoy and learn this sort of greater world and a process of going through the game. So we started out with the Hero Realms base game, which has the same game mechanics as Star Realms. So if you like Star Realms, you're going to like Hero Realms. It's got that sort of same game engine, but all the cards are different. It's not a reskin where you basically, here's a blob fighter in Hero Realms and it's a fantasy thing. No, it's all new cards. So basically the factions do different things. All the cards are different. Sort of the pacing of the power level of the cards is a little bit different than it is in Star Realms. Your starting decks are different. They have some slightly more powerful cards in the starting decks. And we also made it such that there were 4 starting decks in the box. We got some sweet new scorecards that we put in there, and the base game gives you this really great play experience for 2 to 4 players out of one box, which has familiar rules but new flavor and new cards. And then we have the character packs as expansions. So you can get a fighter pack or a cleric pack, a wizard pack, ranger pack, thief pack, and these are new starting decks for the game. So you replace the generic starting deck that comes in the base game with your specialized starting deck. You also have specialized skills that go with the character and different starting health values. So each character was balanced so that they could fight against the others, and it would be a fun and interesting game. But instead of having the exact same starting position, you have very different starting positions, different abilities, different things you're good at. So it has this really cool feel in the player versus player play.
Well, thank you, Robert, for your time and for creating all those great games. We enjoy them very much.
Awesome.
And keep on doing a great job, please.
I'll keep making games if you guys keep buying them. That's the deal.
Thank you, Robert.
Thank you.